Good day, everybody. It's Monday. It's 5:31. We're 1 minute early. And man, do we have a great Monday live show. Dave's here, Cheryl's here, Greyson's here. So much to talk about. I want to start with a question I asked. We're going to start talking about Glasgow, and I want to start with a question that I asked JK, and I want to get everybody's answer. We'll start with Ugly Dave. Do elite athletes still not know how to run this race?
Well, I think they know how to run it. I think maybe they don't know how to optimize the run for them. And I don't think it's the same for every athlete. I think some athletes are going to be different. Like the way Lauren Weeks runs the race is not the way some other people should run the race. The way Rich Ryan runs his race is not the way other people should run the race. And same with JK, like the way he's running it. Like Rich Ryan can't run the race the way JK does. He's not going to get the same results. So maybe it just hasn't got where the race has been brought down into that scope where everybody runs it the same way, where there's an optimal way to run it. So I think they are running the right race for themselves for the most part.
I disagree. Cheryl Snow, your thoughts?
My thoughts when I listen to JK talk about his race strategy and how everybody runs it different is it just gives me the impression that the sport is maturing enough that you can have different people doing different things. I'm kind of a fan of the Tour de France, for instance, and you've got the real power cyclists that just can motor up the hills or whatever. And then you've got cyclists who ascribe to a high cadence to be able to win those heats. And I feel like that's what's happening in this sport, where I don't know if we can ever say that there's going to be one right way to run this race. Everybody's figuring out the right way for them. And I think that makes it really fun.
Greyson Kilgore, your thoughts?
There is one right way to time trial a HYROX, and there is no right way to race a HYROX.
Well, to clarify, I'm not saying there's a way. I'm saying that certain people seem to have figured out the puzzle, as I put it, and some people haven't. Now, it doesn't mean they execute it properly every time. So when Rich executes his race properly, it goes well. When it doesn't, it doesn't. But there's a strategy involved that seems to work. And there are others that seem to know how to race one way. They don't change it, and they lose.
So what is the strategy that works?
Again, you guys are listening. You're not hearing what I'm asking. I'm not saying there's a right way.
A strategy that works.
Okay, here's my question.
Strategy.
Yeah.
A strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we to the point now where there are enough athletes who know what they're doing that you can't just send it anymore?
That's kind of what that's really what I'm saying.
We had this generation of people who were just really fit and they could get away with it. And now you can't get away with just being really fit.
I would say that if you DNF and or are in the lead or in the podium in the first 3 stations and you're not in the 8th station, then you do not know how to run this race. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's a strategy that means you do that. I'm saying that you are doing something wrong if you haven't solved your own puzzle by now. Because if you don't, you're going to lose to people who might not even be better than you, but they're better at figuring out this puzzle.
What if your goal, though, is, and I think what you're describing, probably what Greyson would say, is you're talking about the best way to time trial a race, to get your best time. However, what if your goal for that particular day is checkers or wreckers? It's like, I want to win. That's what I'm after today. And if I don't win, I don't care. I can come wherever else. And if that being the
I'm
case,
specifically talking about the Elite 15 racing against the best 14 other men and women that show up that day. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so let's just say you're not favored in the top 4 or 5, but you're like, I need to win today. I want to win today. This is what I'm going for today. Maybe that's smart, maybe it's not, but that's what you're going for today. So you have to be with the leaders as long as you can. It's like, I'm going to run up top until I bust. And I mean, back in OCR, Kempson did that forever until he could hold on. And that's, at the Kenyans in the marathon, that's what they do. They run up there and they hang up there until they can't, and they hope that they get their day. So, I mean, there are.
I think that is, maybe you do that once, maybe, because you have a certain, you're in a certain fitness, or you feel like that might work. But as I said to JK, it's not a 5K where that strategy really can work, right? Pre-way, like, let's just fucking go, right? Like 5K or under, that works. I think anything in this much of a domain, 53 to 62 minutes, is not going to work.
Here's the deal, though. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Ahead. No, you go.
In the mindset of a racer, momentum really, really matters in HYROX. Momentum is huge. And so the temptation every time a high-level HYROX athlete touches the ski, the question they're thinking is, should I attempt to negative split the way that a smart racer would? I start out easier and get faster and faster and faster. But here's the fear. There's a fear that clicks into the mind of every HYROX athlete is, what if I lose contact? What if the front pack can ski? What if Hunter skis a 139? What if he does it? We know he's going to try. What if he skis a 139 and he doesn't crack? Then the rest of us are going to lose contact and we're out of this race. We're going to lose our momentum. We're going to lose sight of the leaders. And this is an old obstacle racing trick, right? Something that Ryan Kempson used to try to do is just get out of sight from people on a wooded course. If I can get out of sight, I just broke those people. So if you're a bubble athlete who's afraid that you're going to break contact from the leaders, that fear is going to creep in, and then the ego is going to jump on your shoulders, and you're going to end up skiing a 142, and you won't even know what happened. Is a decision that.
But here's the good news. This isn't for HYROX. This isn't obstacle racing, and this isn't a marathon. And even if you lose contact, you never lose sight, and so it's always right there.
When that guy passes you on the lap down, it's the same damn thing.
Well, if that happens, then that happens. But but again, that's what I'm saying. The difference between a smart racer or not, well, I'll just go as hard as I can and see if I can hold on, or I'm afraid to lose contact, so I'm not going to do this. Then you're, I think, not being smart.
I hate to assume things about people, but it seems like the people who are making the podiums these days have really good strategy, really mature strategy. They're able to manage that feeling in a skier. What was Rich coming out of ski, like 13th? Yep. Something like that. Like he ran his race, right? And so I think, to reflect upon myself, I think, am I so resistant to change that I'm never going to change my strategy, that I'm always going to, PR or ER? I love that. Yeah. Am I going to run on hope, or am I going to get my head about me and know what's good for me and hang in there and trust that, right? And it seems like the people who are getting on the podiums these days are the ones who are getting that level of maturity. And I just have to wonder if the names that we used to see who were consistently at the top, who don't seem to be changing their strategy, I think it may be tougher going forward, given that we've got these people who are willing to do that.
Here's something to consider. We have short memories in this sport from one major to the next. With that interview with JK, he sounds like the optimal strategist, and I think he really is. A fantastic interview.
When you're racing for an hour, you gotta. It was pretty good, right?
Amazing.
He talks very slow and deliberate, so it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Matty, he calls me Matty. Matty,
he does know what he's talking about. But do you remember watching him in Vegas just one major ago? He went out hot. He faded hard and clawed his way back up into the, what are we talking, top 6, top 5? It didn't look like strategy. It looked like grit. It looked like racing. And when we like that, but if you would have interviewed him directly after Vegas, it wouldn't have been a story of like perfect strategy. It would have been a story of I fell off the map. I felt terrible and I clawed my way back into this race. So he is the perfect example of an excellent strategist in Glasgow. He's a perfect example of a gritty racer in Vegas.
And it's easy to say the guy that's winning has the proper strategy. And then when somebody else wins a different way, they have the right strategy.
Sounds like he's good at both, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah, he is.
When you're incredibly fit like that, it seems to help.
That helps, yeah.
You can make up for the odd bit of mistake in strategy when you've got the fitness to back it up.
Well, I'll be honest. This made me a pretty big JK believer because I feel like at Worlds he raced really smart, and he's and he won the Hong Kong major, but it wasn't all the men that were, it wasn't as what do you call it? It wasn't as competitive as the other majors. So when I saw with him do that in Vegas, I was like, all right. I mean, world record or not, whatever. Like short course, whatever. Just being that strong and that well is like, this guy's the world championship is going to be won, if you're asking me today, by 3 people and maybe 4. That's what I think.
That's bold.
I think the world championship will be won. I'm going to say 2 people. Now I'm going to say 2 people. I'm going to be more bold. I think it's JK or Ronco. I think Dylan can, I think Hunter can, but I think one of those 2 is going to win it. That based on my immediate short memory of this past. What do you say to that? Cheryl, you're agreeing. And again, love Dylan, love Rich. Love to see Hunter be back on top. It's all these things are good stories, but that's my feeling today. Cheryl, do you agree with me 100%, somewhat percent?
Oh, somewhat percent, right? I don't know. Who's going to be riding the wave 100 days from now? That's what we're going to see. I think it's going to be a lot more fun than it has been. I think we've got a lot of people who we're going to be able to root for, and that's what's going to make it fun.
Ugly Dave, are you willing to make a 100-day out prediction?
100-day out prediction? Who's going to win?
Well, just what do you think about what I said? I think those 2, to me, are the 2 to beat, based on everything we've talked about so far.
JK and Ronkovic?
JK and Ronco, but I think Dylan could win it, and I think you can't still write
your bold statement is that last year's world champion and the winner of 1 major and last year's 3rd place winner and the winner of 2 majors are the favorites to win.
Listen, do you know how many people picked JK to win on our poll?
Me.
Way less than Hunter. Way less.
Me.
Do you think that's a fan base thing? Do you think it's a fan base thing or an accurate prediction thing?
Totally fan base thing.
It would be fan base if it was the general public, but I'm telling you, I look at a lot of the votes and it's people who are in the community, it's other racers. I mean, it's not just like the masses that follow him, the Hunter honks, as it will. I just think people anyway.
I think straight out at the moment, JK is the odds-on favorite, 100%.
But is he, when you say odds on, like over Ronco, or did you say they're
over Ronco?
Equal?
I think JK is the odds-on favorite.
What makes you say over Ronco?
He's won 2 majors this year. I thought he's looked better than him. He's beat Ronco this year. Ronkovic's last race, albeit an open, wasn't really the greatest time. Who knows how much he was trying. I just think JK is more race ready. That's just, Ronco's amazing. He's absolutely fantastic. But, picking one, I think JK is the odds-on favorite.
Old man Glenn agrees with me. He asked if Sandy's doing LCQ. I will answer that by saying, go read Sandy's post today. He put out a very long post about where he's been mentally and otherwise. And obviously we wish him well. So the answer is we don't know, but go read his post, Glenn. Mm-hmm. And Glenn, by the way, if you want to find it, it's Sandy, is it 6,000? Because I know Glenn has a hard time finding things. So it's Sandy 6,000 on Instagram. So I guess I want to go into the races. We spent a long time on over the weekend talking about the crazy rule thing. I do want to kind of quickly the the Sean Noble thing. I do quickly want to hear from our guests, Dave, about that, and then we'll move on to the races. What were your thoughts, Cheryl Snow? Where were you, by the way? You said you just got back into town. Where were you?
I was visiting grandkids. My grandson turned 3. We had a Paw Patrol party, baby.
Let's go.
It was great. It was great. So yeah, so we just got in last night, and I'm happy to be here, but spent time like watching the races in between festivities, the doubles and so forth, and thoroughly enjoyed Glasgow on Wednesday. I just thought everything really, really delivered, and it was a lot of fun. So I guess that's my general take right now.
But what were your thoughts when you heard they changed the
the Sean Noble thing? Sorry, I was writing something down. I have a question for Greyson before we leave. So the Sean Noble thing, is somebody following that guy? Like, does he just have the worst? Like, does he have an enemy? It's just amazing. Of all of us who could be filmed making mistakes, like this poor guy is just getting the short end of the stick. And I just feel really bad for him. And I think you guys were spot on. I actually chimed in right. I got on the live feed while I was up with the grandkids listening to you guys talk about it. And I'm kind of baffled that they would kind of make a random thing. I will say the thing that I hated about running Spartan races was that I would finish my race and then spend the next 2 hours rechecking the results, terrified that there was something they didn't like I'd done, right? Like you just never know. Like there was that just feeling of, what are they gonna do to me? Do they not like the burpees that I did? Do they not like, because I have fallen off podiums before because the Spartan didn't like stuff I did. And this felt very much like that. And I just think it's really too bad.
And because your balance is not so great, Cheryl. I've seen you fall off a podium. Like you were dancing around. You fell right off.
Terrible.
Grayson Kilgore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these.
Hey, listen, it hasn't been 3 days. For all we know, you're in the world champs. They could change it.
Who knows, man? These are all weekend. I've been thinking about how these are the sticking points and the growing pains that happen in every developing sport. So from a 3,000-foot view, we need this problem so we can fix it and move on and solve this whole wall ball debacle. Every major, it's the sticking point in HYROX right now. The way that this race finishes is bad. We need to fix this whole system, and I know how. I'll tell you how if you want me to. But Katie and I saw this in Philly in DEKA. Like the whole part of Dave's whole job with DEKA is because of the same problem with Katie on the burpees. She thought she had done it the right way. The judge said, "You're good to go, get out of here," and then was retroactively punished for just doing everything an athlete could to be their best, right? So yeah, you guys nailed it. Sean didn't deserve this. I think it was the wrong call. So my mind just goes to, okay, it was wrong. Sucks for him. It really does. But what can we do as a community? I think we got to change this thing. And there are ways to make this finish more efficient. And we can look at sports around the world to find better precedents and clear communication. I'm thinking some color coding options and some clear running lanes that will solve this problem. But it was the wrong call by HYROX and from, like I said, from a 3,000-foot view, a necessary problem for us to face as a community in order to clean up this issue long term.
So I don't know what you're going to say, but I have a solution that's not very sexy.
I want to hear it.
What if it's not the last station? What if an unreppable station is the last station? What if the row is the final station? Like, here's kind of harder to mess that one up.
So here's the problem I have with that. So just because it's a no rep on the last station, it's no less important than a no rep on the first station. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter where it is. If you're going to video review for stuff like that, that's the problem. And that's always been my argument against this is, let's say Sean Noble let's say that rep was bad, which it wasn't, but let's say it was, right? Great. What was Thomas Tverdyk's 67th rep like?
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What was Thomas Tverdyk's fourth lunge like? What was anybody's? And that's what I mean. It shouldn't. That's why this replay to judge the quality of reps is just Pandora's box that should never have been open.
And we forget we also just had this. We just had this. Where was it? The doubles race that we just had some video review of what happened, and that wasn't even a major. What was that race? I can't even remember.
But and here's the thing too.
It was an age group doubles. It wasn't. Remember, we just talked about this.
Here's the thing right now that ties into this. On the weekend, Dylan and his partner, I believe his name's Jeremy, but I could be wrong on that. They got a 10-second penalty for grabbing the rower handle before both feet were in the holders. Great, that's in the rule book. That's cool. Give them that penalty. I'm okay with that. Do you know, just by watching the live stream, how many more times I saw people do the same thing? So now, am I supposed to go back there, review that video, and assess all those penalties? You can't do that. If you can't apply your video review to everything and everybody, you don't use it.
Right. Hey,
Greyson,
I was in that race.
I want to hear your solve, Greyson.
Here's my solve. We need a flag system for it. So I watched the video. Yeah, I watched the video of the judge's hand motion, and if a judge is on the left side of the rig and they point with their left hand to the finish line, it looks just like the no rep signal.
That's a great
looks
point.
Like a no rep signal, or it looks like a go, right? And the noise is crazy. So we need something that's more recognizable by an athlete. So I think a judge needs a little green flag, and since there's so much chaos in the finish area, and there's chaos all over HYROX. For example, in mine and Katie's doubles race this weekend, I hurdled a dude at the sled pull, jumped all the way over him. He was in the wrong spot. So there's chaos everywhere, but there shouldn't be that much chaos in a finish area with cameras and judges. So this is what I think. I think the judge is off to the side of the guy on the wall balls, and you've got a green flag that goes forward. And when you see the green flag appear next to you that says forward, you go into the rig and through the middle, and no media, no judges are allowed in the center of the rig. So if you go in and it's a dead sprint to the finish line, then you don't have a judge in the way. You don't have cameramen in the way. The only people that are going to be in that running lane are going to be athletes. So if you see a green flag appear next to you, that's as clear as it's going to be, right? Because you see a color and you're out of there. You don't have to jump people. You don't have to do anything. Problem solved.
But what if they're holding it and they're like, I thought he pointed it. Like, where are they holding it before they lift it up?
No, that sucker just stays on the ground. Stays on the ground.
So they pick it up at like 98, and then at 100 they stick it up.
No, it's got to go forward. It's got to go forward, because this is a no rep signal, right? We can't have judges pointing go. This means so many things, right? And we've watched too much CrossFit at this point. We know that this is a no rep in CrossFit, which is honestly like CrossFit kind of set the precedent for wall balls even being something we would consider as a last station. But you know what CrossFit is doing? They're giving every athlete their own running lane to a very wide finish line. We don't have that kind of room in HYROX, right? So if we're not going to do our own running lanes, there's got to be a cleaner system that says a specific hand motion, a specific color to a direct running lane that's fair and equal for all athletes.
I like it. I'm okay with that. The only problem that I have right off the hop is, and this is just a bit of a safety protocol, is guys running into the lane. We get big boys like Greyson and those guys running in. If they're running in from opposite sides or smashing into each other and hitting the poles on the rig and stuff, so maybe a little padding on the rig might be necessary just to prevent some injuries. But as far as a concept, I like it. And you are absolutely right about the arm out, pointing to the stage, actually looking a lot like a no rep. The only reason in my mind that it was clear with this referee not meaning that one being a no rep is from doing the judging. If I'm holding that tablet, I have a hand free and I have a hand in one on my tablet. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to do a no rep because he had the tablet on the hand and with the tablet close to the finish line, I'm only going to point with that hand if it's time to go. The other time, if I'm going to no rep, I'm going to use the other hand.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
but I think your point is spot on.
I'm still unclear, even though Ian described it thoroughly, what in terms of like what happened. The pad they're touching, right? Mm-hmm. Are they able to change a number and change a X? Like what are the options on that tablet, Dave?
You can hit no rep, so you can override and no rep something. So for example, If it looks like a good rep according to the machine, because the sensor just decides if you fit the target or not, you can hit the no rep on the pad because maybe they didn't go to depth. So yeah, you can override a no rep. I've never
but if I throw a ball, okay, is it going to give me? Are there sometimes it's going to give me a number and sometimes it's just going to give me nothing?
It should never give you nothing. Like if you're close enough to make contact, like if you're 3 feet away, it's not even going to register that you've tried. But if you're close enough to have made some kind of contact or gotten within a couple of inches of it, it will register a no rep.
Okay, but if I hit it and it says 90, it says 100, okay, and then I leave before the guy, he has to go get me, right?
Well, no, he's not going to go get you anymore. They're never going to go get you. But he has to.
I didn't know that was a new rule. That's a new rule?
Yeah. It's not a rule. It's just that's a judging parameter. There's no rule. So
no, but we saw that happen. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. They're instructing judges not to chase people across the line.
So you just have a 10-second penalty.
Yeah. That's
so
why
that judge. Okay, so that judge is charged with approaching who to make sure that 10 seconds happens.
So the judge would then go to the race director after and say, hey, that last one was a no rep. You have to add a penalty. But in the situation, that's why they're telling athletes in the pre-race briefing, do not take off until your judge gives you the okay to go. Right? That's what they're saying. Don't look the screen. Don't worry about the screen. Your judge has the call when it's time to go. That's why you saw JK hesitate before he went and crossed.
That's why all of the racers do that now.
All of us do.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's why is the judge is the final say. That the screen, like I said, is really more for the fans. It's more for the spectators.
Right. I don't know that all of us do. I just know the Elite 15, since the women's world champs.
Cheryl does.
Well, I'm sure Cheryl does.
Don't we all? Yeah.
But I'm saying the average person that's doing horrible wall balls doesn't care. Like, they're not doing that. But maybe, just maybe, their ruling was you have to wait for the judge's signal, and he didn't wait because we all know he didn't when you go back and watch.
No, you're not. That's not a ruling. Nobody's going to do that.
I don't know.
Well, then that would need to be in the rule book. The trying to judge to time the judge's call.
Well,
no, that's ludicrous.
Okay, so I want to touch on a couple things. What Greyson said is my least favorite phrase, only because people have been using it for Spartan since day one, which is it's a new sport and they're learning. Like, I kind of hate that. You're right, and it just doesn't work for me. It's just like, when do we not say that at year 50? Like, it's like, yeah, it's a new sport, but like it's year 7 or year 8 or whatever we're at. And Spartan, it's year who knows what. However, here's my really good news that I am happy to report, that I think I'm more hopeful than Dave is I reached out to Mintra, who has always been my contact with this stuff, and said, I have a bunch of questions. And she said, great, send them to me and send them to this other person. I can get into later who that is. But the point is, I had 7 or 8 questions. I sent it to Dave and Ian. They gave me a few more. These are good questions, Dave, right? These are really good questions.
Yeah.
And I heard back within a day, hey, we're on PTO right now, but I want to let you know I got this and I will be getting back to you. So to me, that's a huge step in the right direction. It could have just been I sit and wait for 2 weeks and they eventually send it. The fact that I immediately heard means they know that it's probably a pretty good idea to like release it through a media source rather than just, dealing with every crazy comment or whatever. So I'm super hopeful that we're going to get clarity, because it basically was like all the stuff we've been thinking, like, how long is a protest period? Do the athletes know there's a protest period? How long do you as a race get to say? In a week, can you change the rules? Like, all these questions they have to now answer.
Why was this a 10-second penalty and before it was a 5-second penalty?
Yeah, we added that one. And Dave, you were saying there are things that have been rules, but they just pretend that they've always been there.
I don't know, but there's certain things that, like, I mean, even this weekend, Dylan got grief about taking his shoes off, and it is not in the rule book. Dylan is still within his rights to do that, and I think sometimes HYROX wants a rule to be there, wants something to be done a certain way, but hasn't put it in the rule book yet. And then they just kind of act like it's always there, but it's not. I want to see them clean up. I think the rule book needs a good overhaul.
Yeah, there's also they don't have to wait till the end of the year. There's a PDF, but they can easily update it and resend the link because right now it doesn't say anywhere in the rules about waiting for the judge, even though they're telling everybody that. It's like, okay, cool, make it official, put it in there. Anyway, go ahead, Grayson.
Hey, here's one that I've been thinking about all weekend. When you read the rule book, when you get off the ski, you're supposed to stay. So it reads 1,000 meters. You're supposed to raise your hand until the judge says clear and then sends you. Do you know how many people do that? Nobody does that. That is
Here's
in
one
the rules.
Here's one for you on the skier. Same thing.
What's that?
Here's one for you on the skier. Here's one for you on the skier as well. If your heels are off the edge of the platform and touching the ground, you're no good.
Yeah. So
but I feel like every time I've raced, they've been like, okay, you're good. I always hear a judge say you're good. Didn't they do that with us, Cheryl, when we rode and we skied?
Always.
But that's not the point. The point is that the rule book says an athlete must raise their hand and then be cleared. And when you watch the Elite
not
15,
the wall balls,
right? And so you're not seeing anybody in the Elite 15 raise their hand. So there's rules that just aren't being enforced at all, and some that are being enforced that are real fuzzy. So
but didn't one of the women get penalized for the ski for leaving too soon?
Yeah, but she did leave too soon. That was Viola.
She hadn't done 1,000 meters.
1,000 meters yet. She was letting it run out.
Right. No, we all do. We all do that, but she left too soon.
You have to remain on the platform until it hits 1,000.
But that's vastly different than waiting.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to stand.
Nobody's doing this. So I was like, hey, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I've been in doubles, and when I get close, Rye's usually behind me. She raises her hand, but there's time. There's nobody. There might be one person manning all the skiers, and they're down to the other end dealing with someone else. Like, no, I'm not waiting for you. Like, I've done 1,000 meters. I'm not gonna sit here and wait another 30 seconds. Like, but yeah. In the rules, you're supposed to raise your hand and wait. Same on the roller.
So they need to ditch that then.
Well, I think all of these are generally, it feels like this sport has a lot of guidelines. I think there's a lot of cultural stuff. I think there's, and so it makes it tough. I do agree. Ryan Reed mentioned in the live chat that at least Spartan tells you when things are unofficial, like that 2 hours you wait. They could have just given us 15 minutes of unofficial results and just made a decision right then. Like, that would have helped a little bit to just not wait a few days to have this done.
Especially when they, in the building, and as far as we know on the live stream as well, did say, hey, we've got a ruling. He's 0.4 seconds ahead, instead of, guys, these are unofficial. It's going to take a minute. By the time the podium sorts out,
let everybody calm down.
We'll let you know who's going to Worlds.
I think for the most part, all these rules work, right? It's just when we come to these kind of chaotic finishes.
Yeah, when it matters. But this is when it matters.
Right. And so make it unofficial. Come up with some, parameters and some protocols about how to handle when it is chaotic, right? But I think for the most part, it's not. I just want to say, Matt, having the row be the last station is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life. I've just been sitting on this. I just need to put that out in the universe. That's all I want to say.
Because it would be so uneventful, or just because it would suck?
It's the most boring one to watch to begin with, and then you're just going to have us all sit there and hope we know what's happening on the screen.
I said it wasn't sexy. What do you want? I said it wasn't sexy.
It's a battle for getting your straps undone on the feet. What an intense battle.
I always jump out. My shoes still stick. I'm really bad at it. I always jump out with my feet still in it. Have you seen the new one though, where it shows a thumbs up sign? Have you seen that?
All right.
There's a machine now where the rower, it will do this when you hit 1,000, and you can get up and leave.
Well, why not? We saw who was talking about just having a checkered flag show up on the screen for the wall balls, and then you can go.
That's a good one too. I like it.
Yeah,
because sometimes I don't trust those screens have not proven themselves over time. They just
well, and that's why I don't know if they should even have the screens. I just think, yeah.
AZ Bev says maybe a longer run after wall balls into finish, so that the judge has more time to make sure the counter hits 100 before the athlete actually crosses the line, so he can be brought back. This is kind of what you said, Grayson, like giving them a lane to run in.
Her if she's run away after the last wall ball. I don't care what judge you got. She's going.
But that's a good point. Like, obviously, for space and for the everyday athlete, that's, you run across this big stage, it's a whole thing. But yeah, maybe it's just moved ahead. I don't know, 10 yards. I don't know.
I thought about that. That's actually a decent idea. It takes the pressure off of that zone and that movement. And so think about, here's an example. In HYROX Pro doubles in Houston, Dylan Scott and Jeremy got a row penalty, and myself and Colin got a row penalty. And in the middle of that, a guy comes up and taps me on the shoulder and says, "Hey, I'm giving you a 10-second penalty. Show me your arm." So he grabs my arm, I hold my arm. He takes a picture of my numbers, and now I know I have a penalty going into the next run. So you could do that coming out of wall balls, and say, "Okay, we're gonna do." So maybe the first run is a little shorter and we add a little more to the last run. First run is 500, last run is 500. That's spicy racing right there. We're watching like a sprint finish to the finish line after wall balls. That's not a bad idea.
Like you have to run a lap?
Yeah, wouldn't that be sick?
I kind of like that.
I think everybody loves a sprint to the finish idea. I don't think it particularly solves the problem we're talking about, but I think it's a great idea. Like, I think it would be super exciting to watch.
You're less likely to have people falling on top of each other.
It would reduce the pressure on the wall ball station.
Yes.
To have it be accurate.
That's, by the way, how the race I just did that, by the way. The Hybrid Northwest that I just did was like that. You finish, and then there's a 200-meter run to the finish.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. What we're actually saying right now is when we say it'll take the pressure off the wall balls, what we're saying is it will make the wall balls as fuzzy as every other station. We got one station we're looking at, and the rest we're going like, we got crap reps everywhere, but we're really going to look at wall balls. What we're saying is we're going to accept crap reps and wall balls now too, and we're going to do a sprint to the finish.
I like it.
That works.
No, like I said, I think it's a great idea, but it doesn't solve the problems we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It does solve a problem, but not the one probably at hand.
Do we want to talk about anything else about the men's or women's races in Glasgow before we talk about Houston? Because Glasgow seems so far away now, but I didn't know if there was some other things we kind of wanted to talk about in general about those races, how they shook out, who made it.
Incredibly exciting.
I thought, how many laps did they have to do? Was it like 4 laps?
And the first one was 5.
It made it so much easier to see everybody. It wasn't just coverage of the top 3. I felt like, I know it was probably a pain for them, but as a spectator, I actually thought it was magnificent.
Couldn't have been that much of a pain. They all went damn fast.
I don't know if you guys saw my stories, but it was an extremely polite crowd, and I was quite shocked. Everyone was sitting. The only time people screamed was when Graham came in and out of a station. And Ian said, well, they'll probably get all excited when we got to the wall balls. That did not happen. They were an extremely polite, and we were like, is it because it was a Wednesday? Like, I couldn't understand why. Usually when people get into the wall balls, as soon as people are into the wall balls, it's screaming. And this was like, they screamed when we got to like 90 or when it kind of got close. It was very weird. It was very, I just don't know what's happening over there in England. It was very, even like Kate hurt herself. And when she got up, everybody did like a little golf clap. It was very bizarre. Anyway,
were they serving in the building?
Alcohol? Yeah. I can't remember. I think so.
Really? Because if you weren't serving, I would understand why the Scottish weren't at
bunch
their
of
regular
sober
peak.
Scotsmen.
Sober Scotsmen. They're probably not at their happiest. But.
I don't know. It was a lot of English and a lot of Scots, and it was very quiet. But get back to what you guys were saying.
Can we? I feel like we need to cover the women's race just a little bit more. We went on about the men's race, and I get a little squirmy when we don't talk about the power and strength in the women's race as well. And maybe that's because we've always thought like we talk about the men's race because it feels like the field is wide open. We're saying there's 3 or 4 that can do it. But we've got to notice that Joanna was on Lauren's shoulder for a real long time in this race, right? So if we're going to say, man, who's actually going to win this world championship? I think we got to pause for a second and say, I think the women's race of the world championship is going to be a real shakeup too. No disrespect to Lauren Weeks, no disrespect to Meg Jacoby. I know we've always talked about them being such a dominant force, but I think Joanna is closing a gap in a way where we really don't know what's going to happen in the women's world championship race either.
I think
I like that.
Yeah, you're bang on. The 2-horse race is a 3-horse race now, and it's more. It's the sport is all the more exciting for it, and the fact that she's so young and just has so much potential to get even better. Oh, the sky's the limit for it. And I think there's other young racers that are going to come in behind her too, and bridge that gap between those three and the rest of the field. The women's field is so exciting to watch.
They're such tough racers. In Houston, I had the opportunity to stand on a fence and talk to Lauren Griffith, and I'd like to talk more about her race with Lauren Weeks because it was crazy. But so in her doubles race with Lauren Weeks, I don't know if everyone knows this, but she passed out for a second again. So she was standing still for 40 seconds. And
was that when they had a slow? They had like a slow run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't know why that was. I had no idea.
To the point where Lauren Weeks told people afterwards, I thought we were done. I thought we were just done racing because Lauren Griffith was so sick. But what Lauren Griffith said, she goes, if I had been a male elite 15 athlete, I would have called it. But instead, I wouldn't finish that race. I think that really, we need to acknowledge the strength.
You make it sound like we never talk about the women's race on this show.
He's just trying to give them their due, I think.
I think look, that's amazing. One of the best comments I've ever heard. Way to go, Lauren.
I think so too. I think so too. I just became a bigger fan of hers.
What woman doesn't race smart in the Elite 15? Every single, we were just talking about how some of the men, what the heck, guys, you're just going out hot and then you just fade. And that we never say that about the women. They all know what they're doing. They all handle it really well. And yeah, all the women finish. Mm-hmm. Kate Davey had to roll an ankle to not finish. Otherwise, they're all finishing.
Well, not the last race, though. The last race, 3 of them did not finish.
Oh, they didn't? Okay.
Yeah, sure. There was
that is unusual.
A lot of sickness going on at the beginning, and you knew kind of some of the work.
Yeah, it was the swamp coolers. It was so hot, Cheryl.
Well, there's always the swamp coolers to blame.
They should have opened those damn doors
exactly.
sooner.
No, I do. I just think the women have a ton of grit, and I just appreciate their thoughtfulness and the way that they handle it. I just have always really enjoyed watching them. And yes, I agree. Yeah. Lucy and Vivian are going to be a danger. Vivian's definitely back. She's doing great.
Well, I do think it does get overshadowed sometimes because the men race second, so that's sort of the fresher one, and because they start right after. The men's, but remember initially, they didn't even wait. They started 10 minutes after the men. It was OCR. Yeah. It was so yeah, it seems like it was so long ago, but it was less than a week ago. But again, even that's it was a Wednesday night, which is just, it was just bizarre. And it wasn't as full as Vegas, which I think if it was a Friday night, it might've been a little more hype, but they had 4 days they had Thursday through Sunday of racing to do. So, and as you saw in my post today, over 17,000 finishers. So they probably had 20,000 sign up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It is impressive that they got that many people through on that smaller course.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The first few comments today were oh, it was crowded and they're too greedy. And it's guys, come on. And it wasn't a ton of that, but there was some of that. And I think that's almost always the case in the European events or the UK events. There's always the course is too crowded, but there's not really a solve for that unless they spread it over a week, but they can't do that.
The venues are smaller just by all of them, right? They don't have the big convention centers like we do.
Well, the solve is what the solve is, but HYROX isn't going to do it. And that's a lower cap on the amount of people you sell to.
Right, but we don't want that. They're already selling out too fast. We don't want that. We don't want less people racing, do we?
You do if it compromises the value. If your race is going to be shit because there's too many people because they've oversold it, then yeah, you want less people racing. You don't want to put out a terrible product that you don't want your product to diminish because you're trying to get as many people as you can on the course right now.
Do you do it over 2 weekends? Do you keep your stuff in the truck and then just bring it back out?
Yeah, I'm just saying that's the solution to the overcrowding on the course. It's just they're not and I understand why they're not going to do it, but they're not going to do it.
But I also haven't had that issue. I haven't been trying to qualify for a world spot and had that happen. I've raced in the morning and in the evening, so I don't know who races in the middle of the day, but that's who's getting screwed, I guess.
Hey, man, here's an example of that. Men's pro doubles in Houston. Colin and I noticed. So you know how they got this new system of getting people into the venue where they have 2 running lanes and they filter traffic.
Right.
Colin and I got the inside lane one time. We got the outside lane every other lap. So when we're talking about like how busy the course is, and so we would watch the 3 teams that made the podium, we'd watch them get the inside lane. Those arrows would show up and send us to the outside lane.
Oh, jeez.
So when we're, like, there is a real frustration for people trying to qualify who are dealing with the absolute busyness of a course. There's no doubt. But I thought that I've had so many of the problems that we're talking about today could be addressed with a board of athletes. I think that that's something that will happen down the road as this sport gets really, really big. But I'm saying, like, why don't we do something right now that's going to help progress with course design, with breaking down the rule book, talking about how HYROX is going to make decisions. Let's make a board of athletes right now so that we're not CrossFit 10 years from now having significant problems and fighting. Like, let's bring athletes into the conversation right away. And I think we can just tackle some of these problems in terms of busy courses, course layout, weird rules with the wall balls. I think there's a lot that can be tackled with a little bit more athlete engagement in the overall trajectory of the sport.
It's a great idea.
I agree. I think Cheryl and I got separated once, didn't we? Didn't you go outside and I went
Because
inside because
they
the break
just
happened?
switched the arrow, and you just did what you wanted. Because
I didn't just do what I wanted. I broke left because it was open.
Yeah, and it's easy to do. And so Greyson, like, you guys literally had a different course than the other guys, right? Like that is, so you're not even racing the same race because you're having to come out. That's no good.
Dave, do you think they would do that in the next year to 18 months? Do you think they would put together an athlete panel?
Do I think they will, or do I think they should?
No, do you think they will?
Sorry, I don't. Do I think they should? Yes.
Like, it sure seems like there are some athletes that sort of have the ear of Mintra and those guys. And so they'll just like shoot off stuff. And that's kind of only how it's addressed. Like, it's not official. It just seems like some people kind of have the juice to be able to throw in that. I get that impression. There are some people that can like email the people, say something, and then everybody else just kind of hopes it goes well. It would be great if it was more official.
I think that early on, in those first couple of years, let's say America's first couple of years, it was a lot of like, I don't think they're listening. They're kind of doing what they want. We're bitching. We know that courses are faster and this sucks for the system, like all those things. I think the good news about the sport growing so fast and getting more eyes on it and getting Puma and Red Bull and all these things involved is that that kind of forces their hand too. Like, we can't have a shit show finish line. We can't have, we want to have all this good press, right? So I think that's all helping move the ball forward. And again, this is where I'm again broken record, but this is why it's way bigger than OCR ever was, because OCR never had that problem.
Right. They're clearly being responsive. I know that Houston got some good reviews from last year to this year. Like, they've improved. They improved Houston from last year's time being at that venue. Like, they're figuring stuff out.
Oh, the system they use to get people into the venue is pretty dang brilliant compared to how things were just 9 months ago. It used to be just a free-for-all crossing, like, run and don't get in anybody's way. So the system they have now is certainly better, right? We've got some interesting things in the comments here. We got someone saying, like, why don't we have a scaffolding bridge that comes over the top? We got Matt Healthful saying, yeah, in Vegas, he ran 14 out of 16 laps on the outside. Like, these are all people trying to compete. And these are growing pains, and growing pains are good pains. But I just think that if we're not going to say this is a new sport, and we can't say, oh, it's a new sport, we're going to figure it out. Let's create an athlete board right now, because there's a bunch of people in the room that have been racing for a real long time.
I love it. And so Shiz says, welcome Shiz, by the way, says nobody cared about the OCR board. Those athletes, like, since day one, were like, let's put a board together. And then it never happened, except one time when Woodsy got 10 minutes for the trust. They said the athlete board, they were like, the athlete board made this decision. We're like, who's on that athlete board? You made that shit up as you went along.
Throw them under the bus.
The reason why I say that they won't do an athlete board, and they will not, any athletes can make an athlete board, right? The four of us could create an athlete board. The problem is, I don't think HYROX would recognize it, because the last thing a race company or business or anything, and this is evident with CrossFit right now, and it's no different than organized labor, wants to have is a group of organized athletes telling them what they think they should do and then having to answer to them. So no, I do not think HYROX will bring a board in, because they don't want anyone else telling them how to run their show.
I think this is a great board, the four of us, a great cross-section of
fantastic
athletes.
Board. And
Grayson's full of great ideas.
Grace is full of great ideas.
Grayson
Cheryl's
does.
a lady, right? She also represents the older generation.
Whoa.
Dave represents Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, think about this. CrossFit has had plenty of athlete versus CrossFit scenarios. Spartan basically crashed and burned on athlete versus Spartan scenarios, right? If HYROX is looking ahead, I think it'd be smart to predict, man, as we grow, we're going to have conflict. Let's get ahead of it somehow. Let's figure out.
There's a way to do it, even if you're sometimes placating. I don't know why I always do air quotes, right? Hey guys, we're going to do this. You guys talk amongst yourselves for the elite athletes, pick a few, we'll pick a few age group athletes, and we will take your suggestions, right? And it doesn't mean you always will. And sometimes they'll have great ideas, sometimes they'll have shit. You know what I'm saying? Why not? Dave, you're saying management versus employees. It's yeah, but you can still have the board pretend to listen sometimes, and probably once in a while you might actually implement something so they will feel like they're being listened to. No?
I'm not, like I said it's a great idea, and they won't do it.
Well,
I'm just saying, from my experience from seeing other entities, that's not something that
CrossFit definitely should have been way ahead of this. I mean, obviously we know what happened last year, and now they just look fucking stupid for never doing it. But they could have.
CrossFit did have an athlete board. And what happened was they had the athlete board. It was all organized. The athlete board was engaged. They were good people involved. They put forth ideas. They were great, awesome, thank you, and constantly ignored until it dissolved.
Yeah.
Right. So that's right. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to definitely, check in once a quarter or whatever it is, or whatever.
So for argument's sake, if we put together, I'm just saying, just hypothetical, 4 of us, 6 other people, we had this 10 people board, and we put forth these great ideas to HYROX, this, and they're like, thank you very much. And after a year, it's thank you very much. And they've completely ignored everything. There's no engagement. There's no return. It just dwindles away.
I think you've got a point, Matt, that the sponsors are probably going to drive a lot of this. Maybe we chirp to the sponsors. I mean, maybe if the athletes have relationships, with some of these guys, that might actually enact change. It's clear that HYROX is responsive. It may kind of happen a little slower than we think, but they're clearly, everything's always changing. It's always getting better. Maybe the sponsors are the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
TT agrees with me. Not a new sport anymore. Purple shrug emoji. And these problems go on for a while, but HYROX decide, like you said before, to not listen. HYROX, all caps, by the way. Make sure you always capitalize HYROX and DEKA. I want to hear about Houston. I want to hear about some doubles races. Greyson, you raced twice, yes?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to talk about the first one first?
Oh, I'd love to. I want to start with what I got to watch. One of the greatest HYROX races in history. I was in the stands up high watching Tia Toomey and Joanna fly around the course. And that's my first time seeing Tia in person. And that woman can run. I had a moment as someone who's been evaluating running technique for my entire life. I was a college decathlete. I was a cross country runner. I've been a running coach for a super long time. When I saw Tia run, I thought, this woman can do it all. And she did. Her and there were so many moments where Joanna, and it totally depends on who finishes stations at certain times, but I'm watching Joanna work to catch Tia in the most amazing doubles race I have ever seen in my life. And I thought, whoa, man, we've got a force in our sport right now. And it was amazing to watch. So Lauren Weeks and Lauren Griffith versus, and really that was the matchup we were watching. Lauren Weeks and Lauren Griffith versus Tia and Joanna. And Tia and Joanna took the lead right from the start. But we saw like Lauren Weeks at a dead run pushing her sled. And what we didn't know is the reason that we had this, like, there's a gap that opened up is because Lauren Griffith, like I said, literally passed out, got sick. They had decided, maybe we're done. And then Lauren Griffith said, actually, no, we're not done. We're going to run our way into a second place finish and a world's qualification. And then when we thought third place was all wrapped up, we had Morgan Schultz and her teammate. Oh, someone give me her teammate's name if you know off the top.
I did not ever
Elena.
think it was wrapped up,
Yeah,
by the way.
Paleo's
I
wife,
was on the
wasn't it?
live stream.
Oh, so much energy. I
Yes,
don't know what anybody just said.
Okay.
So it's Paleo's.
Wife.
I don't know if it's his wife or is it? Okay, it is his wife. I thought maybe it was a significant other. I was on the live stream looking at the splits because somebody said don't sleep on them. So I started paying attention and watched them. By the time they got to, I don't know if it was Farmers or the one before it, but by that point they had caught them and then held on. Right, held on to the third place.
So I've been a fan of Elena for a really long time. She is an excellent athlete. Elena Rukachaz, I think, is her name. I always just know her as Elena, and we call her Paleo's wife, and we shouldn't because she's great, like in her own way. She is a tremendous athlete, and I love the fact that these doubles are allowing us to see athletes like all of a sudden she's risen to something where we will now be able to follow her and watch her in this doubles and things. Why they had them in the second heat, I don't know, but they in her post they pulled an extra length of sled pull. They made a mistake and pulled 5. And so we have the two Laurens who, unconsciousness on the course, and yet they still pull in right behind Tia and Joanna. And then we've got Elena and Morgan who made a mistake and still posted a really great time. So I think that bodes very well for Worlds. I don't think that it's Tia's and Joanna's, like they're not a lock for this.
Well, I have to say, before we get ahead of ourselves, we knew that the CrossFit folks would wake up and say, look, she's the best in the world. And Dave cannot help himself and let those folks know that it would be like a games teams athlete automatically winning the games. And I almost wrote Dave, Dave, this is not a fight you're going to win.
I don't need to win. I just need to fight.
But I appreciate you standing there for us. And so the first thing I thought was, and I didn't know she almost passed out. I did not know that. I noticed that they were falling further behind. And I think someone put like, did they miss a lap? Did something happen in the live? But I also think that we're not seeing the ultimate race. The ultimate race would be Meg and Lauren, right? Versus those two. And they have separate teammates. So maybe next year we'll see that. But Lauren and Lauren are team THE, and Meg is racing with Camilla. And so it's kind of unfortunate because I want Team USA and I want Team HYROX over Team CrossFit, right?
But Joanna's not Team CrossFit.
But she's with Tia and they're both Aussies. So I want
this. Tia's not Team CrossFit anymore either.
No, man.
Yes, she is.
No, I'm just getting a rile.
Is.
I'm going shooting for the rile. She's converted. She's pure HYROX. That's her trajectory. And
now they're team proven, right? Like we've got this team proven. That's
I think Tia transcends space and time and organizations and dumbbells. She is the queen of this fitness earth, man.
She can do whatever she wants.
Is unbelievable for how strong she is. It's nuts.
I told you, just watching her on the last race she did, I was intimidated, and I was like, I haven't even seen her in person yet. And yeah, if you didn't hear, there's a whole team proven camp happening. She's going to come here to start for CrossFit in the games for CrossFit. And isn't she also doing WFP?
No, she's not doing
she
WFP.
wasn't.
And I don't know if she plans to do the games or not because I don't think she really put a lot into the open. It's up in the air. But WFP, she's not.
Either way, they typically come to America during this time of year, and JK is coming, and I think Joanna's coming. So they're doing either Miami and Atlanta or just Miami, but some of them are coming to Atlanta, and then they're going to spend, they being all of Team Proven is going to spend from Atlanta till Worlds in Nashville.
Cool.
So they're probably going to have some cool stuff, like some workouts and whatnot. I'm going to head up there. Like, I'm actually going to drive, Dave,
Good
which,
for you.
I don't do. But if I get a chance to interview Tia in person, that would be amazing. So yeah, can we talk about the men's doubles race now, Greyson?
One thing before you do, because I just want to say this because I don't want Todd to have like a seizure on me or something.
Oh yeah, Todd Cholos is commenting about how good Tia is and what she should be in the rankings.
Todd, she did amazing. What she did was absolutely fantastic, but I stand by the same thing I stand by since day one. When she runs a solo and runs up with the big dogs, then I'll put her on the list. Until then, she's just run an amazing doubles race with one of the best partners in the world. So,
and she had a nice mixed doubles as well.
Right. She had a nice mixed doubles as well. That's right. But I mean, that's not enough for me to put her up at the top of the list.
Is this just her positioning herself for next season when we might see?
I hope so, but I don't think so.
I hope so.
But I don't think so. I hope so. I really hope she does that solo run, but I don't think she's going to.
Mm-hmm.
And here's hoping I'm wrong.
The doubles is very fun this year. I mean, the fact that they're setting it up, I saw the schedule for Worlds, and I'm so excited for Saturday night. It's just going to be really great.
I mean, we've known that was what's going to be, or do you think did something new come out?
It's just seeing it official.
Yes. I didn't know when it was going to be. I didn't know how they were going to set it up. And I feel like we've got more people to root for now. We've got teams we can root for. I think it was enormously entertaining watching you guys, Greyson, and like to watch you guys work together and just turn out the kind of performances you did was just so fun. And I think almost better than the relays, right? I think the doubles is going to be really fun to watch.
It is electric. I was in Vegas watching the Elite 15 races. The crowd when Tia Toomey and Joanna came to every station was bigger and louder and wild. It was like there was not, or you couldn't, if you were on the floor, you couldn't get to the gates. The place was packed. I looked around at one point and every single person was holding up a cell phone at wall balls. Like I'm talking like 1,000 cell phones in the air trying to get the moment when Tia Toomey was doing wall balls to finish off a world record race. I think it's going to be one of the most electric things that happens in HYROX because the team racing is intense. And on that note, I got to say, after being like mixed up in the chaos of the men's race, they were like the level of professionalism in Tia's execution and Joanna's execution was top notch. It was the evidence of a 7-time world champion. She has done her homework. She has studied. She's practiced. She executes a race down to the very itty bitty details in a way that you and I just trying to figure this out. We're not on her level. Like there's a lot of people who are high boxers who are not on her level in terms of race execution.
Well, so remember, it's not just her, right? She's got her husband / coach, right?
JK.
Plus now they're working with JK. Yeah. So some pretty great competition minds going around. If you don't think JK is a genius when he does well, but not a genius when he doesn't do well.
He's a genius all the time. All the time. He's a genius and he's gritty. He's the whole package.
So Greyson, I want to hear about the men's doubles race.
Men's doubles race was awesome. I got to watch it from fourth. It was beautiful. It went out hot.
Let's talk strategy. We talked about who doesn't know how to run their race. Greyson, Kilgore. What was your strategy?
So Colin and I sat by a big statue before the race, about 20 minutes before we started our warm up, and we were talking about the very ski erg problem that every Elite 15 athlete is considering. So we're saying, okay. We know that JK and Jake Dearden are going to ski mid 130s probably, and then we know Dylan and his partner. Tell me his partner's Jeremy. Dylan and Jeremy are massive, tall dudes. They're going to send it on the ski as well. So we're sitting there going, okay, so do we try to hang and stick in the fight, or do we hold up and hope that like maybe they'll make a mistake and we'll come back around and get and it was intense. Right from the start, a pace that you cannot imagine going off right from the start. Colin and I took fourth. Our typical split, I think, and I'll double check this. We were splitting 3:15.
I'm gonna pull them up. I'm gonna pull them up now while you're talking.
We had a handful of splits that were we're talking 3:15 1Ks, and JK and Jake lapped us at one point. Like that's how fast they were moving. And we were running 3:15 1Ks. So it goes out hot. It's super tight at the ski. It's so tight at the sled push that if you watch the videos, we've got some pushing going on between JK and Jeremy. Like these people are like shoving for sled spots. And then the race kind of...
Real quickly, you and Jeremy and Dylan and Marcus and Dawson are all 30 to 39. It says James and Jake are 16 to 29.
Young buck.
How old are JK? That plays a factor. I didn't realize that.
That's wild. That means they got a lot of years of being great at this. So the top guys were pretty tight. You want to keep going on how the race played out?
You ski to 324, but go ahead.
Okay. That hurt, by the way. That hurt a lot. So for me, that's not my HYROX strategy. I don't try to go out skiing super fast. But it felt like just to hang it all, we had to be skiing like 137 pace, 138. So the sleds go out hot.
Sorry, but would you be surprised if I told you that JK and James skied a 326?
No. Nope.
So you skied faster than they did.
Yeah, but they got there a lot. Like they got there in first. They got there in pole position. They got there 4 to 5 seconds ahead of us. So we piled into the ski as really 5 or 6 teams piled in at the same time, and we all come flying out of there. We really didn't start to see the tiniest bit of separation until after sled pole, and then it kind of spaced out a little. And then the drama came back in the wall balls there at the end as Marcus Wallace and Dawson Miller made a sweet pass in the wall balls to grab that second place spot. To be honest with you guys, there's a lot of the race I didn't get to see because I made a very rookie mistake. I ran past, we're going into Farmer's Carry, and that was like, so you take a hard left, and it was like right there past the Red Bull fuel station. And then Lunges was all the way down at the other end. But I thought that I was in Vegas for a second, and Colin was just trailing me. He was staring at my back, and I led Colin all the way to Lunges. We stopped and we looked around and said, we don't know where we are. And so it was like, where's Farmer's Carry? Where's Farmer's Carry? And someone said, it's way back there, like back towards the entrance. And so we run back to the entrance, and I was so race brained out. I touched every size of kettlebell. So I grabbed the first set of kettlebells, and the volunteers, no, not those ones. And then I grabbed the second set of kettlebells, not those ones either. And I was like, which ones do I grab?
The heaviest ones.
So I finally get the heaviest ones. We calculated that probably cost us 35 seconds. So on top of that, with a 10-second row penalty, we were just too far out of contact to see to really be in the race for that third position. So we think we had 40 to 50 seconds of mistakes out on course that really like made it so that I couldn't see what was happening in Lunges and wall balls to finish that race. But awesome, amazing work by Marcus Wallace and Dawson Miller with an incredible finish for that second place. I think Dylan Scott would tell you that he's a little disappointed in his execution. But I think his partner, Jeremy, it's absurd that guy is as fast as he is because he's a giant human. Multiple times I was watching him run, I thought, big dog's going to fade. Like, we're going to catch that dude. There's no way he can run this fast for this long. And he just kept doing it. It was shocking.
Dave and Cheryl, do you have any questions for Greyson before he brings on his special guest?
I know, man. He laid it all out there. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a really good report. And it was, and you guys make the rower fun to watch. So well done.
Did you guys see, there's a clip out there, you got to find it. I think it's on Dawson Miller's story. And it was kind of funny to be right next to it, where he got a foot stuck on his dismount. And it was like a cowboy stuck with his boot in a stirrup as the rower was leaving him behind. It was really funny. And he just got stuck in there, man. It was incredible. The intensity was hot.
No, and I can't wait to see 15 similarly matched teams doing that at work. It's going to be, I've said it, I think it's going to be more exciting than the solo race. I'm looking forward to it more than the solo race.
Yeah, no, I think this was the preview for me, and I think that's why I'm kind of excited about it. So will you guys go to Miami? Are you guys gonna?
Man, so I'm actually going to be at DEKA SoCal the same weekend as Miami, and I've got
That's right.
we've got a contract with DEKA right now where we're going to be running that clinic. So I feel like I'm letting Colin down because I threw off his race, I led him to the wrong station, and now I'm not going to Miami with him. And it's a real bummer. We're actually looking. I think mine and our time, even after our 10-second penalty, is still the 8th fastest time in all of HYROX men's pro doubles. So it's a fast time. Like we 52.0 something, and we would have been like 51.50 without the penalty. And so that actually would have won the first qualifying event in Australia. If we would have run that time down in Australia, we would have been in. So
you can go to London.
London, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I think we need a doubles LCQ.
Ooh, that would be actually really
That would
spicy.
be fun.
That would be really spicy.
I'm seeing Todd asking if HYROX starts to stream the elite doubles next year, and I mean that's what we missed. Is it was just a bunch of people on their cell phones, and it would have been so fun to get something a little bit easier to watch, but it was thoroughly entertaining.
We called that as soon as they announced that this should be live streamed because it's going to be epic.
Yeah. Well, I understand they are going to live stream the LCQ, which we didn't get last year. So Barcelona will be live streamed, and then obviously Worlds, we're going to get singles, doubles, and relay. And that just made me think about, which I hadn't thought about. Tia is probably going to be on the Aussie relay team. So
I would say so.
That's going to be
that's going to be
well.
fun.
Look, if they can figure out how to live stream the LCQ in Barcelona, that's gonna be good precedent for not just live streaming grid all the time. Like if they can figure out how to get us just a regular course and a good live stream on that, then they could set up cameras and do it all the time, which would be really nice.
They can do it, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more expensive.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't have to be the high production value of the majors, right? We just need a few cameras on course to sort of show us everything. It would be really.
I know, but they've established they won't even do an Instagram thing, which they could do for us at every single race. They think it has to be. So, all right, Greyson, go get guest number 4.
Okay, let me go. She's working. I'm in her office. Let me go out and see if she's free.
Way to wreck the surprise.
We knew who it was.
So Ryan Reed said there you essentially have 5 doubles LCQs with it all being open, and that's why it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because there's no controversy about who should have been there, who shouldn't have been there, whose times were what, who what. It was show up and let's dance, and I love it. It's fantastic, and that's the way I've been saying the solo races should be.
Well, so if they can set up a live feed that makes sense and is not terribly expensive, they could do that for singles, and reduce all this double time thing, and just have several races where you could qualify for the Elite 15. It'd be wonderful. Qualify for
What's the update, Greyson?
5 minutes. She's seeing a patient right now.
Okay. While she's doing that, I'm going to update you guys on my travel, because I know you all want to know.
Well, I just want to say we didn't get nearly enough of your English accent content. I was expecting a lot more of that, and I haven't heard you try Scottish at all.
Cheryl, we used to be friends,
Well, I want to tell you that as I get older, I'm getting worse and worse at traveling. Let me just say that. So on the flight back, no, I'm sorry. The night before, I'm packing up, right? I'm ready to go home, right? It's what day was it? Friday morning. No, I flew on Friday morning. So Thursday night, I'm packing up my hotel, and I don't really keep things neat and organized. So when it's the night before it's time to pack, then I'm like, okay, let's all the plugs, all the things. And the last thing I'm doing is like, okay, let's get the passport ready. I keep the passport in one of 2 places when I go to a hotel because I don't want to lose it. And that's in a very special part of my bag, or just laying on the desk so I don't take it out in the world with me. If I lose my bag, I lose my passport. And it is not there. My passport is not there. And I am freaking out because I have to fly in the morning. And if I left it somewhere out there in the world, right? I'd been doing interviews at literally 4 different hotels that day. Like, I am fucked, right? So I take my hotel room apart and I still can't find it. And I'd already like, I'm going through the fucking garbage. I dumped out garbage and food and it was disgusting.
Oh, no.
And I'm freaking out. And so I go downstairs and there's this kid, he's like 20 years old working, who is Ukrainian. And so like, you know, he's helping me, but it's like, I'm not feeling like this is going to get solved necessarily, right? And he's like, I can show you, we can see the video. I was like, oh, I checked in here and you took a copy of it, right? So I know I didn't leave it in England, right? So he finds the video. Okay, first of all, you want an out-of-body experience, all right? I like watching yourself check into a video because like you're not aware that a camera's on you. I felt like I was watching like you know those things where it's like the person ends up missing or dead and like here's the last place they saw. So it shows me, I'm chatting to the woman, you know, I'm fucking chatty. The woman gives me the passport back. It goes in my pocket. And like, then I go sit down and I'm like setting up my computer and we're watching it like it's like the NFL. We're like, all right, it's still in my pocket. It's there I am. I'm like, you know, I'm working on my computer. So I go back up to my room and like the desk has like some room for it to fall down. Right. And so I realize that and I look down and I don't see it. I'm starting to, hey, Katie.
Hey, Matt.
I gotta finish this story of one of the many things I lost on this trip.
I can't wait.
So I can't find it. I start to Google like, how do you do this? Right? It's like, oh, call the American consulate, right? Or no, call the English consulate, right? The UK consulate, right? There isn't one in Glasgow. Okay, by the way, the closest one is in Edinburgh, right? So I call this number and it's like, if you need an emergency passport, call the office in London, right? So I call the office in London. And again, I'm like freaking out, as you can imagine, right? And I'm listening to this very long message, which is like, hey, if you need this, press 1. If you need this, press 2. Like, it's very long. And I find like the 7th thing, it's like, okay, if you definitely need a passport, press this button. And it's like, hey, do you need a passport? We don't do this over the phone. You've got to come down here. So don't leave us a message and no one's going to listen to it. It's just like, I'm just like, fuck. So then it occurs to me, I was in another room when I first got there. When I first checked in, I was in a room and it was super fucking loud above me. And I was like, hey, can you guys change my room? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I was like, I think my passport might be in that room somewhere. So this very nice Ukrainian kid was like, all right, I have to knock and ask them. And I'm like, well, they're going to let you in because anybody would. Hey, I've got someone who thinks they lost their passport, right? And I'm texting my wife and I'm like, honey, I'm freaking the fuck out. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, listen, go in that room and go where the desk is and go where it looks like something would have fallen down. And I'm really positive it's there. So he goes up there and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And he comes down once and he does this to me. And I'm like, and he was like talking to somebody else. And I'm like, did he find it? Did he not find it? And he's like, hey, I'm going to do a bad Ukrainian accent now. He's like, hey, they're not in the room. I'm just going to go in though and look for you. I'm like, please do. So he goes up there. He comes back down. And as he comes through the door, he pulls it out of his pocket and he goes like this. And I run up and I hug him because I'm so happy. And I'm like, oh my God, I was losing my mind. I mean, the whole thing, let's say that was an hour. You can just imagine the like anxiety of that hour. Maybe it was 45 minutes. And I said, you know, can I leave a review for you somewhere? Like, can I tell your boss you need a raise? And he was like, your hug was enough. Like, thank you for that. Like, so then we start talking and like, he's like, he left his country. Obviously, like he's got a war-torn country. He's been there for 2 years. He's an artist. He's a filmmaker. He starts asking me advice about being a business. Like basically, he's my new best friend, and we've been messaging since. So the story isn't very happy. Hey, Katie, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm really good.
Yeah,
Welcome
He's
to the show.
old.
Welcome
sounds
to the
like it.
show.
Thank
I'm
you.
old. You know what happened, by the way? In the morning, in Europe and in England, because I'm a world traveler, I knows these things. There's a coffee maker in every room. Like, still, America doesn't necessarily have that, but they have instant coffee. And what happened was I had to plug it in, and so I picked up the tray, and I put it on the thing, and that's what I think pushed the thing over. Anyhow, Katie,
Yes,
did you race this weekend?
I did. I did my first doubles HYROX this weekend. Yeah, mixed doubles.
Yeah. What was your how did it go? What was your expectation? What was your reality?
It was very fun.
Do you coach with those massive earrings on, by the way?
Yeah.
They don't get in the way?
No.
When you're jumping around, they don't get in the way?
I don't jump around that much at work.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. I was pretty intimidated going into it, expecting to run it's just gonna be so much faster when you do a doubles and running with Greyson for thousands. We've done obviously a lot of DEKA Fit teams, but you get to split that run. So it's nice. You get a long break. But I was pretty happy with how it went, actually. And I think that now we know we don't have to pace it the same way that we did. I think we probably were pacing a little bit too much, honestly, on some of it. So
you held back too much, you think?
Next time. You what?
You held back too much?
I think so. I think we could go faster.
We can go faster. We will go faster.
What did you determine strategy in terms of who starts what section first and who goes last?
Oh, yeah. Well, our original plan, so I've been recovering from some injuries. So our original plan was like, okay, we're going to run it. And Grayson's just going to go in thinking he's doing the whole station until I want to hop in. That was our plan. But I felt great that day. So he started most of the stations, especially the sleds. Sleds take a lot more out of me than it does to him at that weight. So he started with a full length of sled each time. And then we would make sure to split the rest and have him finish on the sled so that I'd be ready to run. Did you already talk about this stuff?
No, yeah.
Oh, cool.
No. Yeah, the part of the strategy there was that she was gonna set run pace, and I was just gonna work as much as she wanted me to in the stations, thinking that I'm just gonna have to run to keep back up with her once she takes off and kind of dusts me in the rock zone. And yeah, it's a good. I think that's a pretty typical, probably co-ed strategy.
Yeah.
Because
the exact same one that what my wife and I use, except at 1.5 speed.
Yeah, and I mean, what's nice is with skiing and rowing, we never switch really in our DEKA Fit because it's just not worth it. But in this, it's such a long race, you can switch on the ski a ton and save energy, and then it doesn't really matter. I can ski fast for 30 seconds and then let him back in, and he's not as fatigued. So, and then burpees, we kind of just split up pretty evenly.
So you didn't have an idea of meters. It was just 30 seconds at a time. That was the goal, or that was the strategy.
Let me tell you, Matt, our situation is a little bit unique. We got that chemistry. No, we don't be talking out plans all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cheryl and I will know that we've really melded as racers, and we don't need to talk. We just by feel. We just do it, because Cheryl and I have only raced together once.
You just have to do it. Yeah. You just gotta know the other person so well you can read their mind.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with this phrase goals, but that's when I see you two, that's what I think. Oh, goals. That's the vibe I want to go for.
I call bullshit.
Matt, we're going to finish each other's sentences. It's going to be this beautiful synchronicity. It's going to be fantastic.
Dave, what do you call bullshit on, buddy?
So what I say is right now, and this is what tells me that Greyson and Katie have a whole lot of time that they're going to shave off their HYROX, is because they are probably two of the most calculated, most dialed in people I've ever seen when it comes to these sports. And to say that they're going out there and we're just winging it, I call
we didn't say we're going to wing it from now on. We're saying that this was our first one, my first race since Worlds. So we had to kind of go in and figure it out a little bit. And now we're oh, all right, now we know what to do.
I predict a much, much faster time in Chicago.
Yeah.
We'll
be there.
Hey,
so were you time trialing, or we're gonna win?
Yeah, it's
We're
very
gathering
hard.
information.
No,
A lot of gathering information. You can't. Here's the deal. if I were to turn to Katie before racing and say, hey, let's just have fun, she'd say, screw you, let's win.
Yeah, so like we had our heat, so we knew like, you know, there's one group that went out fast in our heat, and I was like, okay, and I was like, nope, they're not gonna last probably, and we lapped them eventually. But like we were in a, like Morgan and Alex were in a later heat. I think Chris
And they
and
won, by the
Blasky,
way.
yeah, they
Yeah.
won, and like Chris and her brother were in a different heat. So like, you know, you're not racing against anyone really, or you don't know who you're racing against, I guess. So
Do you know what's interesting about the here's what where co-ed racing is at right now in HYROX. HYROX doesn't seem to care about it as much as the other. They clearly don't care about it as much as the other races. Men's pro has an Elite 15. Women's pro has an Elite 15. Do you know who cares about mixed doubles racing? Every dang person racing mixed doubles. The community cares, man. There was 3 straight hours of mixed doubles racing, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
so
Cheryl and I had a pretty packed field when we went.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun. It's really
It is
fun.
It's
Yeah.
fun and it's fast and it's different and yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
It just seems
Yeah.
like you guys were able to just go out, just have your fitness, figure things out, and now you can use that as a baseline for a game plan. And I agree, like you guys are going to take a ton of time off your next race.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to shout out Morgan Schultz and Alex Rakovich. How do you Rakovich?
I think it's Radovich.
Radovich.
I think so.
We know Morgan Schultz is incredible, right? She is a star. But Alex, I think Alex races in the 8 to 14-year-old age group. The dude is lightning fast. I think he's got a 14-something 5K. And when we saw him, we're like, whoa, man, you've put on muscle since the last time we saw you.
Yeah, she got him into it. Like she
Yeah,
was just
it's
like,
cool.
"Hey, come do this with me," and now they're studs.
Yeah.
Mhm. He's gonna be a force in this sport, and they crushed. They were great out there.
Yeah, they beat you by 2 whole minutes.
I don't know. I wish
Well,
they would have been in our heat.
This time. Yeah.
Yeah, they're also in the 16 to 29. If you're in the 16 to 29, I don't even want to talk to you. I've decided.
I think it's the 8 to 14-year-old age group is what I saw, but say what you want.
Yeah, that's a guy that's going to get faster and faster and faster.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
for sure.
He's
Yeah,
gonna be
he's
great.
young. Yeah, and then it is nice to just, you don't have that looming feeling of like, oh shit, I got 100 wall balls after this. It's like anybody can do, like if we had to do sets of 10, it's fine, you know? So you kind of have that leeway to push it a little bit and know you're not going to die.
Yeah,
And if you do
I was
die,
super.
someone else can do it for you.
Yeah, super confident with me when I was with Cheryl. I'm like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do these wall balls.
Cheryl can just do everything.
We did great in wall balls. I thought we had a really good rhythm, and we're gonna take a ton of time off in Chicago, aren't we, Matt? It's gonna be that was
Yes,
our
we
that
are.
was our baseline in
Yeah,
Vegas.
that was our baseline. We were just winging
Yeah.
it. That was just our
Winging
baseline.
it. Yeah.
We learned so much. So was that your only race of the weekend, Katie?
That was my only race this weekend. Yeah. I don't have anything next till DEKA Fit SoCal. So
I love how
So
we're to
what-
the point where it's like, is that your only race this weekend?
I know.
Racing
I
all
know.
these
That
races.
was I only
All
raced
in
once
HYROX.
this time, guys. Sorry. I should have done more.
Why didn't you race 8 times
I
this
know.
weekend?
I need more. Yeah. I need more races out there, I guess. But
Hey, you know something interesting about the HYROX community that I was really excited about? We're out, Katie and I out there, we're kind of at that moment, the kind of the fastest runners on course. So we're trying to hug that inside rail a little bit, and we're taking turns who's breaking snow, you know? We're like, maybe that's just an Idaho term, by the way. Like
I was going to say we don't say that in Georgia. You say that in Idaho.
yeah.
So
I am
Vegas, we
familiar.
don't say breaking snow either.
So
I
we
got
would, well, this is what we do. Like I would if I saw a big crowd, I know that I got a little juice in the tank. So I'd surge ahead and I'd say inside, and we'd try to take that inside rail. But what was really cool, we had a couple people yell at us because we bumped some people, and we get yelled at in every race. That's part of racing. We're fine with that. But what was really cool is I'd say inside, and then they'd jump over, and I'd say thank you, and they say go crush it, and that happened
Yeah, a lot.
endlessly.
Yeah. People were excited for everyone
It was
else.
so cool the way that people were cheering for each other mid-race. And I think that's one of the really fun parts about being on course with everybody. There are downsides to being on course with everybody, but the cool part is people are like, "You passed me!" Like we rubbed shoulders, and like we were out there with you. It was so awesome. It's a really cool.
You know who doesn't say? You know who doesn't say "Go crush it"? Anybody that I say on your left at the airport when they're standing on the freaking walking.
We did that to a guy.
Yeah.
Walking. What do you call it? The walking sidewalk. And I'm like, excuse me, on your left. We're all going to the same place. Right. But I'm going to be there 10 minutes before you. Because I want to get to the other side of the airport and I'm not standing behind you.
Yeah, it was packed when we left. And we're like, I'm starting to feel like we're in HYROX again. We're like dodging people and weaving. He jumped over someone, not at the airport, but in the race at one point.
Yeah.
He told us
Katie just pushed him.
And I pushed him out.
I jumped him and Katie just shoved him aside. Katie plays by our own rules.
I think the newer HYROX athletes are like really freaked out about that. And those of us who have been out there forever, we fully expect you guys to push us out of the way. And we absolutely are happy to see you run by us. Justin Medeiros just ran by me like a normal person in Vegas. I couldn't believe it. Like just being on the same course with you guys is great.
Totally.
If somebody hits me and passes me on the inside and like rubs shoulders with me, I'm actually embarrassed. I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have been there. Because I'm not where I'm supposed to be at that point.
Here let's create the protocol right now. Here's what let's lay out the protocol.
It's interesting that you say inside though, because in trail running it's on your left, and track you say inside because you're a heptathlon. Where the
HYROX sometimes goes in either direction, so you got to say inside.
And here's the other thing: if you say, I've experienced this so many dang times. If you yell left, the first thing someone might do is step to their left.
Yeah, all the time.
That happens a fair amount on the trails. But I think in a race though, people seem to know. Like on a trail, like it's a family, I don't say on your left, I just say excuse me and let them pick a side. But if it's a race, usually if you say left or on your left, they know to jump out. But
I'm not trying to use a whole sentence. I'm not trying to say on your left. That's too many words. Sure. I got one word.
I'll be passing you on the left here shortly.
No.
Here's the protocol. Let's create the
Run
protocol.
them down. They should have known better.
Brendan King says so true.
Inside. That's what you say.
Inside. Everyone thinks they're the fastest person on the course until someone blows past them, right? So there's no we're not trying to tell people like, hey, you're not fast because I want like I'm a HYROX coach. I want all of you to be on the course. I want everyone to try to make moves and make passes. Every dang person should be trying their best. Here's the deal. If you could leave one body length next to the rail, and just be ready to step a little bit to the outside, that's gonna save a lot of space for people passing. And
the only time I feel like I failed in that, where I can see other people failing, is you kind of, if you're in race brain and when you're trying to cut in, when you're cutting in to the zone, when you're coming out, you see people, so it's easier. But when you're cutting in, you might forget, like, oh shit, and then somebody super fast comes and clocks you.
When I'm cutting in, I put on the blinker. I'm like, I'm coming over. I'm coming over. I'm not in that inside lane. I'm coming from the outside.
Yeah, I think this was the most vocal I've ever been in a race, probably, because like when because the ins and outs crossed, so it was dumb. So like I'd see people coming this way, and I'd be like, I'm coming in, and cut them off if I had to or whatever. Just so they
there's always that traffic jam in between those two. But does anybody ever just run on the line? Because I tend to run on the line, that fast lane line, because then that does give room for people to pass me by. But then I'm also able to sort of cut around people if I need to. Like it seems like a good guide for me. I don't know if anybody else does that.
I like what Dave said. I think we should all have colored things on our butts, and it's like it starts to blink when you're gonna come over.
that is the loudest I'm on courses when I'm going into the rock zone, because like I said, I don't go in the fast lane. I go in there to pass, and then I come back out like you're supposed to do, right? But when I have to cut in there for the rock zone, I am literally like, I'm coming, and I'm throwing the blinker over. I got hand signals like I'm coming, and as it is, I'm a pretty solid guy. So if they run into me, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of hand signals out there. People going into the rock zone, just saying, "Hey, here I go."
Yeah, I think it's like weirdly a fun part of the race, actually. And like I've done a lot of like road races or trail races where you're trying to like weave through people, and it's almost like a little juice every time you have to like dodge or cut through somewhere. It's kind of fun. So if you don't have a lot of experience with busy race courses, it's a definitely.
At the start of a 5K or marathon, it's a little fun, but you kind of don't want to be doing it later. I feel like.
Sure.
I actually I think
that's why you get out in front of people, Matt. Come on.
I think
that's what I always do.
I run faster on a full course because I'm going to pass that guy. oh, I'm going to pass that guy.
Yeah, it's
oh, I'm
like a
going to
little
pass that guy.
adrenaline.
Yeah,
I
just
agree.
like, oh, he's not quite as fast as me. I better haul around and make a little surge, and then I can get back into my pace. And stuff.
Yeah, and then you crush his soul every time you pass him like that. It's fun.
I was
wish
running
that
So do you think you want to make this more part of your race life, Katie, or do you want to stick doing mostly DEKAs?
No, I think HYROX teams is great for me. I think that's probably where I would do best is with the teams. I think I'll
Should
still
they call it HYROX teams or should they call it HYROX doubles?
Oh, doubles, whatever.
No, I'm asking. We've talked about this before.
I don't know. Everything, we call everything a team. We're teammates for everything. So yeah, I think I'll still chase some HYROX Pro. I think I just gotta like heal a few things first before I'm throwing that much weight around, but I'll get there eventually.
Yeah. It's fun, man. It's super fun. My mind after that race, we're not only thinking about us, but thinking about members of this greater community. I think HYROX doubles and mixed doubles is a great opportunity just to get into racing. And I know I get on this soapbox every time, but I get excited when I see teams out there matching outfits and they're doing this thing for the first time. And I think the last thing I want when we talk about like blowing past people on the course, the last thing I want is for people to think like, oh man, these like D-bag pros, all they care about is their race. Like, I want something on the back of my shirt that says like, I'm glad you're here. I want you to be out here racing together. Like, this is a great way to get into this sport. I'm just going to elbow you sometimes because that's what we're doing out here. The teams, I would encourage anybody who's listening, and I think most people listening are HYROX people, but if you got someone in your life that you just want to get connected to the sport, grab them for a team race. Split up the work, like experience this amazing challenge and event together. There's part of me that always wants to tie back to the core of why we do this. For the rest of my life, I will race HYROX because I'm going to lay awake at night thinking about what I can improve. And when I'm 50, I'm still going to be doing this dang stuff because I'm just going to be hungry to see what's possible, what's next.
50? Wow, that's old. When's that going to happen?
Oh, man.
This is what I want. This is what I want for our community. I want people to be passionate and excited and invested in something that connects them to what it means to be a human in pursuit of good things. So if I elbowed you, it's not because I don't like you. I want you to be there. I just want to run fast.
I love that you're so apologetic. I mean, you're like one of the most positive people I know. I think that emanates out of you. So I appreciate that you're apologizing so much, but I think most people know. But yeah, again, they still may hate you because, you know, like I said, when I try to pass people in the airport, they hate me. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there aren't airport people at a HYROX. We understand. We understand.
Actually run into a bunch of HYROX people at the airport.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And they probably aren't giving you a hard time for passing them on the belt. So.
No, they start racing you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It was a throwdown.
I'll say in Vegas, a woman in my age group, Lauren Griffith's mom, raced in Vegas. And
yeah, we did.
I just, that was her first pro race. There are so many of us of a certain age. She's going to be 60 this year. So she'll be out of my age group after this year. And she turned out an extremely good time. I'm pretty sure she raced in Houston as well. But there's a good group of people doing this for all the right reasons. And I think we're all just cheering each other on. So we're cheering you pros on. Don't worry. We're not upset.
All right. Well, listen, before we wrap it up, I'll give you another chance to promote your DEKA NorCal training thing you're doing. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I'm going to be there, SoCal, right? And so I'm trying to decide, like, tell us what we're going to get if we sign up for this. And is there still room?
Oh, I haven't checked to see how many have registered right now, but right now the goal it's Greyson, Kevin, Gregory, and myself. We'll kind of do a big group all together at the beginning, talk to everyone. Yancey will come out and talk and meet everybody. And then it's on the race course. So we'll get to kind of show the race course the night before in the venue. We'll split it up. So you're really just, I think we're going to each have like 10 to 15 people to one of us, walking through every station, talking strategy, technique, nutrition for races, kind of letting people pick our brains, get to know us and get to know them a little bit too.
Yeah, it's going to be in depth. It's such a unique opportunity to get on the course beforehand. I promise you there's a million things I'm thinking about as a coach and as a racer that many people are not thinking about. And we're going to divulge the secrets. We're going to break it down. And here's the deal. DEKA, just like HYROX, it's only going to get more competitive each year. So if you're serious about this and you want to be an age group competitor, if you're serious about this, you need to come to this clinic and learn from the people who are thinking about this day in and day out. So it's going to be worth everyone's time. It's going to be worth your money. It's going to be fun. I think we're going to bring some sweet, fun energy. And we're going to break down technique on each of the stations. And Dave's going to be there a little bit. And it's going to be real. It's going to be a good time.
So this is the 2025 SoCal DEKA Fit Anaheim Convention Center. It's the same place that HYROX was last time. And was DEKA there before or no?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's always there.
they're always there.
Okay.
It's a great
Are
venue.
you, Cheryl, are you racing?
Yes.
How many
Awesome.
categories are you racing?
I'm just doing age group. So my coach is trying to talk me into racing the elite wave, but I don't want to do that.
No,
Cheryl,
what about doing a doubles though? What about doing a doubles, Cheryl?
I don't have anybody who wants to do it with me. I'd be happy to do it.
Oh,
Dave,
look at that,
let's
Dave.
go. That'd be so fun.
You run.
So
I'll
let's get rid of that word just before age group. We don't need that word. You say, I'm age group racing and it's badass.
Well, it is, especially because the reason why I like racing age group is because I can race the boys.
There you
usually
go.
beat
I like that. I
most
can
of the
get
boys in
behind
my
that,
heat.
Cheryl.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier for me to, the elite girls are going to kind of leave me in the dust, and I may have a couple that I could probably hang in with, but I usually pass the boys, and that is extremely satisfying.
Always, yes. That's awesome.
All right, I got a couple of questions. One for Cheryl. Cheryl, what is your DEKA Fit time?
My best time's like a 39.
Okay, run elite. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fast.
That is fast.
And then
I would
what
have won
wanna-
Ocala. Like I would have been up there.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then with Greyson and Katie and their workshop or clinic or whatever we would call it, I would tell people go, because even those of us who have done this for a while and think they got a handle on it, you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
there's so much to learn and so much you can gather from people at their level. And I would highly encourage anyone to do it. Having been to a couple of things like this, I go in every time going, I'm pretty dialed in, and going, fuck, no, I didn't know that.
Well, and if you want to be motivated for your race the next day, this is your guy. Like you're gonna come out of there ready to win and pumped up and not sleeping and ready to go at 5 a.m. because that's how he is.
Yeah, baby.
Greyson, what is your morning, if you're racing in the morning, HYROX you could race whenever, but if you're racing in the morning, what is your morning breakfast?
It's a good question. You should come to my clinic and I'll tell you.
Don't give it away for free, Greyson.
I'll be I might be in Miami. I might decide to go to skip down there and watch some doubles, because those doubles are so exciting. You guys got me all excited. I might sneak down to Miami.
Does anybody else have the issue when they like do a podcast with Greyson or listen to him on podcast where it's like, I got to go to bed after? You're like, fuck no, afterwards I got to go work out.
Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I live with that. I know what you're talking about.
All right, let's wrap it up. Another great episode. This will be on the podcast on tomorrow, and then so if you missed any of it, you can listen to it there while you go run and get all pumped up. And then Thursday, I forget who I have on the live show or on the regular podcast, but I'll bring that to you. Dave, you got anybody this week, or just you and Bethany shooting the shit?
I have a special guest that I'm recording with later tonight. Bethany has to take the night off because her son is in the hockey playoffs, and that is far more important.
Super important.
So yeah, I have a special guest. I have a replacement Bethany.
All right, we'll look